The ancient Romans had a way of looking at life that was practical, curious, and surprisingly resourceful. What might seem odd or unappealing to us today was for them simply part of daily living, something they observed, embraced, and passed along from one generation to the next. One of the more unusual habits they practiced was using urine as a mouthwash. It sounds strange at first, but to the Romans, this wasn't some odd superstition. It was a matter of hygiene and health. They believed it helped whiten teeth and keep breath fresh. Even more, it played a role in cleaning clothes because it contained ammonia, a compound that breaks down stains and odors. Public pots were placed in busy parts of the city where people could contribute their urine throughout the day. Washermen collected it, using it to clean fabrics, while families sometimes mixed it with herbs or abrasives to create tooth powders or rinses. It wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was simply one of the many practical tools that supported Roman life. Imagine a household at dawn, the soft light barely breaking over tiled rooftops, while servants carefully pour collected liquid into vessels for cleaning tasks or morning routines. It's not about discomfort, but about making use of what's available with patience and acceptance. Just a few steps away from this practice were public latrines, another glimpse into how Romans embraced shared spaces. These communal toilets were often long stone benches with evenly spaced holes, with no partitions for privacy. Yet, instead of awkwardness, they became lively hubs where people chatted, exchanged news, or even conducted business while seated side by side. It was a space where conversation flowed freely. The sounds of laughter and gossip filled the air, and social bonds formed over the hum of activity. Cleanliness, after all, wasn't a solitary concern. It was a collective experience. The Romans had a rhythm to their day. They believed that proper routines supported both body and mind. While common citizens and slaves ate breakfast in the morning, the wealthy often skipped it altogether. Their meals were delayed until later in the day, as they focused on other activities before gathering for lavish midday or evening feasts. Breakfast, for them, was seen as something for servants or laborers, those who needed sustenance before working long hours. Even their banquets reflected this sense of indulgence and abundance. Feasts could last well into the early hours of the morning, sometimes stretching for 8 or 10 hours. Guests reclined on couches, passing plates laden with delicacies, sipping watered-down wine, and laughing over stories from across the empire. Some went so far as to vomit intentionally, using special bowls to make room for more courses, an extravagant display of appetite that spoke of excess rather than necessity. Exotic dishes were the stars of these gatherings. Flamingo tongues, peacock brains, and honey-stuffed dormice all made appearances on gilded platters. Another luxury item sold at markets and by cosmetics vendors was gladiator sweat. This sweat, prized as a powerful perfume or aphrodisiac, was collected after matches and bottled for those willing to pay for its supposed allure. Alongside it, beauty routines included applying white lead-based makeup, a toxic concoction that slowly harmed those who used it. Even beauty, Romans believed, was worth the risk. Despite these extravagant indulgences, Roman life was deeply structured around public baths. Bathhouses were architectural marvels, consisting of rooms with varying temperatures. Visitors moved between the hot caldarium, the warm tepidarium, and the cold frigidarium, soaking in steam, conversing, or relaxing with massages. Bathing was a social ritual that reinforced community bonds. Men and women, in certain facilities, bathed together, their nudity seen as unremarkable. The absence of clothing was simply an acknowledgement of the shared human form, not something to be hidden, but embraced as part of daily routine. At night, Rituals continued in quieter spaces. Families gathered by their household shrines, offering small gifts like bread, wine, fruits, or flowers to their guardian spirits, the Laras and Penates. These household gods watched over the family's safety and food stores, and prayers were whispered in gratitude or hope for protection. Oil lamps cast soft light on stone altars as parents and children bowed their heads together. The act of offering and praying brought peace and reassurance before sleep, creating a sense of belonging and calm. The Romans' sleep patterns reflected their deep connection to natural rhythms. Without artificial lighting, they often slept in 2 shifts, dozing shortly after nightfall, waking near midnight for quiet activities, and returning to bed until dawn. The middle of the night wakefulness wasn't viewed as disruptive. Instead, it offered time for reflection, conversation, or prayer. It allowed people to ease into rest, process emotions, or simply enjoy the calm silence of the world around them. As time passed and the Roman Empire began to crumble, many of these practices faded. Public baths fell into disrepair, and privacy concerns reshaped attitudes toward shared spaces. Household shrines were replaced by churches, and spiritual practices shifted accordingly. The segmented sleep pattern gave way to continuous rest as new technologies and cultural expectations emerged. Banquets became more modest, and luxury items like gladiator sweat vanished from markets. Yet, even with decline, the Romans' legacy endured. Communal bathing evolved into spa culture, culinary traditions inspired dishes that remain, and household rituals found new forms in religious observances. Their resourcefulness, adaptability, and emphasis on care left quiet echoes in modern life. Let the image linger in your mind, a world where hygiene, community, and routine intertwined seamlessly. Picture the warm steam of bathhouses, the soft glow of lamp-lit shrines, and the quiet companionship of a family gathered before sleep. These practices, born of necessity and observation, remind us that comfort and well-being come from embracing life's simple rituals with patience and care. As you drift deeper into calmness, allow these images to settle gently around you. Feel the soft warmth of stone baths, the hush of midnight prayers, the shared laughter in communal spaces. Let the wisdom of ancient Rome wrap around you like a comforting blanket, inviting you into rest, reflection, and peaceful dreams. Not far from these shared routines of hygiene and self-care, public toilets were another space where Romans revealed their sense of community and practicality. These latrines, long stone benches with evenly spaced openings, offered no partitions or privacy screens. It might seem strange to us today, but for Romans, this arrangement was part of the ordinary rhythm of life. The absence of barriers didn't invite discomfort. Rather, it fostered connection. People would gather side by side, exchanging news of the city, gossip about politics, or even discussing trade deals as they went about their business. The hum of conversation in these communal spaces became an unexpected form of social bonding. Laughter would ripple through the room, and thoughtful advice or casual banter was exchanged as easily as if they were seated in a marketplace cafe. The practical act of tending to personal needs became an opportunity for conversation and camaraderie. It's a reminder that what may seem private or taboo in one culture can be a natural part of daily life in another. For Romans, it wasn't about modesty. It was about efficiency, friendship, and shared humanity. The day's routines extended well beyond hygiene. Meals were another example of how Romans structured their lives with both practicality and indulgence. Breakfast, surprisingly, was not a meal embraced by the upper class. For most wealthy Romans, eating in the morning was unnecessary. Instead, they reserved their appetite for grander, more leisurely meals later in the day. Breakfast was often left to servants and laborers, those who needed nourishment before working long hours under the sun. This distinction between classes shaped how food was perceived and when it was consumed. Come midday or evening, however, the tables transformed into spectacles of abundance. Lavish banquets stretched on for hours, sometimes from sunset well into the early morning. Guests reclined on couches arranged in elaborate settings, passing dishes piled high with exotic and opulent fare. Platters of roasted meats, spiced vegetables, and rich sauces were only the beginning. Among the most extravagant offerings were flamingo tongues, peacock brains, and honey-stuffed dormice. Dishes prepared with an artistry that spoke not only to taste but to wealth and status. In these gatherings, time seemed to dissolve. Entertainment in the form of music, dance, or recitations filled the air, while lively conversations and laughter wove an atmosphere of ease and pleasure. Some guests, eager to sample every dish, would deliberately induce vomiting to make room for more courses, using specially designed bowls for the purpose. It wasn't seen as grotesque, but rather as an accepted, even admired, expression of hospitality and indulgence. For the Romans, it was a way of celebrating the pleasures of the table, sharing abundance without restraint. Even personal grooming extended into unusual but accepted practices. Gladiator sweat, for example, was collected and sold as a luxury cosmetic. It was believed to enhance attractiveness or serve as a love potion. Bottled and carefully labeled, this prized substance could fetch impressive sums among those eager for a scent associated with strength and vitality. Alongside these indulgences, women applied white lead-based face paint in pursuit of beauty, despite its toxic effects. The Romans, though unaware of its dangers, embraced the ritual as a means of achieving pale, porcelain-like skin. Their willingness to incorporate substances from nature or experimentation into their routines reveals a culture eager to explore solutions that enhanced appearance and self-confidence, even at a cost. Amid these daily rituals, the bathhouse stood as one of the most cherished spaces in Roman life. These grand facilities weren't simply places for washing away the grime of the day. They were centers of relaxation, healing, and social connection. Bathhouses consisted of multiple rooms with varying temperatures. Visitors moved between the hot caldarium, the warm tepidarium, and the cool frigidarium, letting their bodies adjust gently from one environment to the next. Some lingered in steam-filled chambers, while others sat by the poolside, engaging in soft conversation. Massages were offered to soothe muscles, while oils and fragrances added to the sense of tranquility. For many, these spaces served as retreats from the stresses of daily life. Men and women, in certain facilities, bathed together without concern for modesty. Nudity was natural, a part of being human rather than something to hide. Bathers discussed politics, philosophy, or simply exchanged greetings, their bodies relaxed and their minds at ease. As evening approached, households shifted their attention to quieter rituals. Families gathered near small shrines dedicated to guardian spirits. These household gods, known as Lauras and Penates, protected the family and its food stores. Offerings of bread, wine, fruits, or flowers were placed on stone altars, and prayers were whispered as lamps cast soft light across the room. The presence of family, together in gratitude and reflection, brought a sense of safety and comfort before sleep. Roman sleep itself followed a pattern attuned to the natural world. Without artificial lighting, they often slept in two distinct shifts. After a few hours of rest following sunset, people would wake around midnight. During this quiet interval, they might engage in prayer, conversation, or simple reflection before returning to sleep until dawn. This segmented pattern was seen as normal rather than disruptive, a time for easing into and out of rest. It was a rhythm that acknowledged the body's natural cycles rather than imposing strict schedules. Over time, however, the decline of Rome changed these patterns and traditions. As the empire weakened under invasion and internal strife, many public facilities, including baths and latrines, fell into disrepair. Cities that once thrived on structured routines struggled to maintain services. The once lively banquet halls emptied, and the comfort of communal spaces faded. Household shrines gave way to churches, blending old customs with new beliefs. Where families once honored the Laras and Penates, they now gathered around church altars, praying to saints and the divine. The segmented sleep pattern gradually gave way to continuous rest, as artificial lighting and modern schedules reshaped how people slept. Banquets, once extravagant and endless, became simpler, suited to more modest circumstances. Despite these changes, echoes of Roman life remained. The tradition of bathing endured in the form of spa culture. Culinary influences persisted in Mediterranean recipes. Rituals of gratitude, prayer, and family bonding transformed but did not disappear. The Roman spirit of resourcefulness, of embracing what nature offered, of sharing experiences, and of weaving comfort into daily life, quietly survived, embedded in the fabric of Western culture. As the night draws closer, imagine a Roman home bathed in soft lamplight. The family gathers near the altar, hands folded, voices soft with prayer. Outside, the streets grow quieter, the bustle of daily life recedes, and the stillness of the evening invites rest. Picture the gentle steam of a warm bath curling upward, the soft laughter of neighbors in shared spaces, and the simple satisfaction of a meal prepared with care. These rituals, built on observation, routine, and connection, remind us that comfort is not luxury, but the thoughtful tending to body, mind, and spirit. Even amid decline and change, the practices of the Romans endure, subtle, woven into daily living, and quietly supporting the human experience. Let the warmth of these images settle around you, the soft sounds of conversation and water carrying you gently toward rest. Feel the calm presence of community, the soothing rhythm of evening rituals, and the comfort of shared humanity. Allow the ancient ways of Rome to lull you into peaceful dreams, wrapped in the gentle embrace of a life lived with care and wisdom. As the comfort of the evening deepens and households settle into their routines, the Romans' concern for beauty and appearance remained a priority, even when their methods were far from what we might expect today. Among the practices that defined their approach to self-care was the use of cosmetics, some of which, though admired at the time, came with unintended consequences. Women, eager to maintain pale, smooth skin, applied white lead-based face paint. This pigment, ground from minerals and mixed with water or oil, created a porcelain-like appearance that was considered highly fashionable among Rome's upper classes. The powder brightened complexions and concealed blemishes, offering an illusion of youth and refinement. However, lead is a toxic substance, and over time, repeated application slowly poisoned those who used it. Yet beauty in Roman society often trumped health concerns. This pursuit of appearance extended beyond cosmetics. Fragrances, ointments, and hair treatments were carefully crafted from natural ingredients, oils, and flowers. Perfumed baths, scented oils, and creams made from herbs and resins were common additions to a well-appointed daily routine. Romans didn't shy away from experimentation. They observed the effects of various substances and incorporated them into their grooming practices with enthusiasm. Even the battlefield contributed to beauty. The sweat of gladiators, collected after matches, was considered a powerful cosmetic. Bottled and sold at markets, this sweat was believed to enhance attractiveness and vitality. Some saw it as a love potion, imbued with the strength and passion of the warriors. While we might find the idea unusual today, it speaks to a culture where sensuality and self-expression intertwined with strength and performance. While these practices reflected indulgence, the Romans' approach wasn't reckless. It was grounded in the belief that tending to the body was an essential part of living well. Their methods, however unconventional by today's standards, were guided by experience and observation. They embraced what nature offered, confident that careful use would bring desired results. Their desire to care for the body also extended to how they handled excess. Lavish banquets, filled with dozens of courses and exotic delicacies, often tempted guests beyond their capacity. Some indulged so thoroughly that they needed to empty their stomachs mid-feast to make room for more food. Special vomit bowls were placed nearby for this purpose, an accepted tool rather than a source of embarrassment. Rather than being seen as indulgent or excessive, it was viewed as part of enjoying the pleasures of life. These gatherings weren't rushed affairs. They could last for hours, sometimes stretching from sunset until the first light of dawn. Entertainment, music, poetry, and storytelling wove through the evening, while guests reclined comfortably, sharing laughter and conversation. The sense of time faded, replaced by the joy of companionship, good food, and shared experience. Even as decadence flourished, Romans found balance in their routines. Public baths served as places of relaxation and wellness, where visitors moved from hot steam rooms to cooler pools, easing their bodies through temperature shifts. Massages, scented oils, and warm water helped soothe muscles and calm the mind, reinforcing the connection between self-care and serenity. Some bathhouses welcomed both men and women, offering a communal space where nudity was natural and unremarkable. The absence of clothing wasn't a source of shame. It was simply part of life. Conversations flowed as freely as the water, as bathers discussed politics, philosophy, or simply exchanged greetings in an atmosphere of trust and ease. As night approached, families turned inward. Household shrines dedicated to guardian spirits provided a space for prayer and reflection. The Lauras and Penates, protectors of home and hearth, received offerings, small gifts of food or flowers placed at altars illuminated by flickering lamps. In these moments of quiet devotion, the family's bonds were strengthened and a sense of peace washed over the household. Without artificial lighting, Romans followed natural rhythms when it came to sleep. Many adopted a segmented pattern, resting for a few hours after dusk, waking near midnight, and then returning to bed until morning. The nighttime hours provided space for prayer, conversation, or silent contemplation. Far from being a disruption, it was a comforting way to ease into rest, allowing the body cycles to guide the experience of sleep. But as the empire's strength waned, these traditions began to fade. Public bathhouses fell into disrepair, and communal spaces were abandoned. Household shrines gave way to churches, and new forms of worship replaced older practices. The segmented sleep pattern dissolved as new technologies and schedules took hold, ushering in a different approach to rest. Lavish banquets became rare, and once thriving rituals grew quiet with the passage of time. Yet, echoes of Roman life lingered. Spa culture borrowed from the old bathing rituals, offering relaxation and wellness in modern forms. Culinary traditions evolved, carrying hints of Roman flavors and techniques. The spirit of resourcefulness, of making use of what nature provided, remained embedded in everyday practices. Even as history shifted, the care, connection, and observation that defined Roman routines continued to inform how people approach comfort, health, and community. Now, as you breathe gently, imagine the soft sound of water in marble pools, the quiet laughter of bathers at ease, and the soothing warmth of oil massages. Picture families gathered by altar lamps, offering prayers with calm smiles. Visualize banquet halls lit with golden candles, filled with food prepared lovingly, and conversations stretching into the night. Let these scenes unfold gently in your mind, like the pages of a story being turned softly in a quiet room. The rhythms of Roman life invite you to relax, to feel the ease that comes from thoughtful routine, and to trust that comfort is found in the simplest gestures of care. Allow the gentle flow of these memories to lull you deeper into calmness, where the echoes of ancient rituals become whispers of serenity. The warmth, the companionship, the quiet reflections all come together to wrap you in a sense of peace, carrying you gently toward restful dreams. Even as Romans indulged in lavish meals and elaborate grooming, their attention to everyday routines extended to the most ordinary parts of life, like getting ready for the day and moving about the city. One fascinating aspect of Roman life was how slaves and attendants ensured comfort and convenience for the wealthy. Some citizens, especially the elite, didn't just plan their homes, they carried their homes with them. Slaves often followed their masters in public, carrying portable toilets for emergencies. It seems unusual now, but in a city bustling with markets, forums, and streets crowded with carts and pedestrians, the ability to relieve oneself discreetly was considered essential. Life moved fast, and Romans valued practical solutions over embarrassment or inconvenience. The streets themselves were alive with energy, and yet, for the elite, personal routines were a blend of luxury and careful planning. While common people relied on public latrines, bathhouses, and marketplaces, the rich could enjoy private conveniences carried by loyal attendants, making mobility seamless and comfort constant. The combination of personal servants, carefully scheduled meals, and attention to hygiene allowed the upper classes to move through daily life with efficiency and ease. Bathing rituals, already a cornerstone of social life, often intertwined with other habits. Romans didn't just bathe for cleanliness. They bathed for health, social interaction, and reflection. A trip to the public baths could take hours, with time spent in the hot caldarium, warm tepidarium, and refreshing frigidarium. Massages, exfoliation, and scented oils transformed the bath into a sensory experience. Conversation flowed as easily as the water, with patrons discussing politics, business, or philosophy, sometimes even while sharing the bath with members of the opposite sex. The shared nakedness wasn't scandalous. It was simply part of daily life, an accepted natural state that reinforced both trust and community. Meanwhile, the Romans' relationship with food continued to surprise. Exotic ingredients weren't just for show. They reflected curiosity, wealth, and the desire to experience the far reaches of the empire through taste. Flamingo tongues, peacock brains, and honey-stuffed dormice might be on the menu for the elite, while garum, the pungent fermented fish sauce, was poured over nearly everything. The smell might have been strong, even overwhelming to outsiders, but to Romans it was a flavor that completed the dish, a culinary staple that brought subtle layers of complexity. In these indulgent environments, Rituals sometimes combined practicality with pleasure. Banquets weren't simply meals, they were events. Guests might recline for hours, tasting course after course, enjoying performances and sharing stories. Some feasts lasted until dawn, a testament to both abundance and the leisurely rhythm of life. In such moments, the line between sustenance and celebration blurred, and a meal itself became a form of art, socialization, and self-expression. Beyond indulgence, Romans found beauty in smaller, quieter rituals. Many households had private shrines where bedtime prayers to household gods marked the end of the day. Laura's and Panades watched over family life, safeguarding food stores, health, and fortune. Offering bread, wine, fruit, or flowers was a nightly habit, providing structure, comfort, and reassurance. Children learned early the value of routine, gratitude, and the presence of the divine in ordinary life. Lamps flickered softly, casting gentle shadows across stone altars, and the simple act of reflection created a sense of peace that lingered into sleep. Even their sleep patterns reflected harmony with natural rhythms. Without artificial lighting, many Romans practiced two-phase sleep, resting after nightfall, waking for a period around midnight, and returning to sleep until dawn. During the waking hours, they might pray, discuss matters quietly, or engage in light work. This pattern wasn't seen as inconvenient. It was a natural division of night, providing space for calm reflection or gentle productivity before the final rest. As the empire changed, these practices gradually faded. Public baths closed, communal latrines were abandoned, and household shrines were replaced by churches. Banquets became smaller, sleep became continuous, and some rituals disappeared entirely. Yet the underlying principles endured: care for the body, attention to hygiene, structured routines, and a rhythm that balanced activity and rest. Modern spa culture, culinary traditions, and domestic rituals carry whispers of these practices, showing that even as empires fall, the human desire for comfort, cleanliness, and connection remains constant. Imagine, then, a Roman household in its full rhythm. Servants prepare garments, pots of food bubble on the stove, bad steam in quiet courtyards, and lamps glow gently near family shrines. Laughter, conversation, and careful routines mingle with the smell of cooking, the touch of warm water, and the glow of lamplight. In these moments, the Romans created a life balanced between indulgence and care, extravagance and simplicity, connection and reflection. It is this harmony that remains their most lasting legacy. Among the more unusual indulgences in Roman life was the fascination with gladiators. These warriors, trained for combat and spectacle, carried a certain aura of strength, courage, and virility that captivated the public imagination. But beyond the thrill of the arena, the Romans found even more unexpected ways to integrate gladiators into daily life. After matches, their sweat was collected and bottled as a kind of perfume. This might seem peculiar to us, but it was highly prized among those seeking a connection to vitality and passion. A few drops were believed to inspire attraction or bring luck and love, and possessing it was a subtle display of status. This interest in personal allure extended to the broader world of cosmetics. Roman women, in particular, pursued beauty with dedication, using substances like white lead-based face paint to achieve the pale, flawless complexion favored in elite circles. While it slowly poisoned those who applied it regularly, its immediate effect, smooth, luminous skin, was irresistible. Beyond face paint, elaborate hair treatments, scented oils, and perfumes formed a daily ritual of preparation and refinement. These practices were not merely superficial. They reflected the Romans' desire to maintain control over appearance, projecting elegance, confidence, and societal position. Even in the realm of dining, extravagance intertwined with ritual and habit. Banquets were not just meals, they were performances. Guests reclined on couches, enjoying dozens of courses that could include the most exotic fare imaginable. Flamingo tongues, peacock brains, and honey-stuffed dormice appeared alongside more familiar staples, presenting an array of flavors, textures, and aromas that spoke to wealth, curiosity, and the empire's vast reach. The smell of garum, the fermented fish sauce poured generously over many dishes, filled the air with a pungent, yet beloved tang. Its presence was ubiquitous, a reminder that taste, like ritual, was a shared cultural experience. In these feasts, time became fluid. Courses arrived one after another, accompanied by music, poetry, and storytelling. Guests might linger for hours, even into the early morning, enjoying conversation, laughter, and performance. For some, the desire to taste everything led to the deliberate use of special bowls for vomiting, an accepted method to continue enjoying the feast. While it may sound excessive to modern ears, it exemplified the Romans' embrace of abundance and their commitment to savoring life fully. Bathing and communal wellness remained central to daily life, providing balance to indulgence. Public bathhouses offered carefully designed sequences of rooms. Hot caldaria to relax and open pores, warm tepidaria for gentle soaking, and cold frigidaria to invigorate the senses. Visitors could soak, massage, and cleanse, moving at a leisurely pace that encouraged both physical and mental relaxation. Conversations in these spaces could range from politics to philosophy, or simply the exchange of everyday news. Bathing was as much a social ritual as a personal one, blending utility with comfort, leisure, and connection. Beyond public spaces, private rituals helped anchor the day. Household shrines invited quiet reflection, prayers, and offerings to the Laras and Penates. Bread, wine, and small fruits were presented with gentle care, while lamps cast soothing shadows across the stone altar. Families, gathered in soft lamplight, found calm and shared attention to these domestic duties. The simple act of honoring household gods offered reassurance, continuity, and a sense of belonging. Sleep, naturally, followed the rhythm of Roman life. Without electric lighting, night became a fluid space, and many Romans practiced segmented sleep. After an initial few hours of rest, they might awaken around midnight, engaging in quiet conversation, prayer, or reflection before returning to bed until dawn. This pattern allowed for a natural balance of rest and contemplation, embedding a sense of calm into the nocturnal hours. Even as the empire shifted and declined, these customs left enduring marks. Bathing culture evolved into modern spa practices. Culinary traditions retained hints of garum's influence in Mediterranean cooking. Rituals of gratitude and domestic prayer persisted in transformed ways, influencing Christian observances and family routines. Luxury and indulgence may have waned, but the underlying philosophy, balancing care, connection, and routine, remained a guiding principle in everyday life. Picture, for a moment, a Roman evening in full motion. The city is quieting down as the sun sets. Families gather near warm lamps to offer prayers. Servants tidy spaces and prepare for the night. Bathhouse steam drifts into cool evening air, and the scent of rich food lingers from earlier banquets. Outside, the city streets are hushed, but life continues in subtle rhythms. Neighbors chatting quietly, vendors closing stalls, the occasional sound of footsteps on cobblestones. Every action, from bathing to feasting to prayer, is part of a larger orchestration of comfort, rhythm, and belonging. The Romans, through these habits, reveal a culture deeply attentive to the body, the senses, and the community. They teach us that indulgence and care are not opposites. They can coexist harmoniously. Time is measured not just in hours, but in moments of nourishment, reflection, connection, and restoration. And as you imagine this world unfolding, let the images settle softly in your mind. The warm bath, the glow of altar lamps, the quiet intimacy of conversation, allowing you to drift into calmness and gentle rest. As the night progressed in Roman households, life maintained a rhythm both familiar and comforting. Banquets that began in the evening often stretched well past midnight, continuing until the first light of dawn. These gatherings were carefully orchestrated events, combining food, conversation, and entertainment in a fluid dance of indulgence and social connection. Guests reclined on cushioned couches, savoring course after course, while musicians, poets, and performers provided a backdrop of soft, engaging activity. Stories were exchanged, laughter mingled with the clinking of cups, and time seemed suspended as the focus remained on the simple joy of being together. The scale and extravagance of these meals reflected both wealth and the cultural emphasis on hospitality. The wealthy spared no effort in presenting exotic delicacies, and no detail was too small, from the precise arrangement of dishes to the subtle blending of scents in the air. Yet even amidst this indulgence, the Romans maintained a sense of decorum. Every motion, every interaction carried a layer of ritualized behavior, allowing banquets to serve as a display of refinement as much as pleasure. Hygiene and convenience were interwoven into these experiences. While some guests lingered over food and drink, others relied on attendants to manage practical needs. Slaves carrying portable toilets followed their masters discreetly, ensuring that comfort and dignity were maintained even in public spaces. This integration of service, efficiency, and foresight highlights the Romans' ability to harmonize luxury with necessity, allowing daily routines to unfold without interruption or discomfort. Bathing, as always, remained central to Roman life. The communal bathhouse was more than a place for cleansing. It was a hub for socialization, discussion, and relaxation. Men and women, in certain facilities, bathed together without clothing, engaging in conversation or thoughtful reflection as if fully clothed. Nudity was natural, a nonchalant aspect of shared human experience rather than a source of embarrassment. Patrons moved deliberately through hot caldaria, tepidaria, and frigidaria, enjoying the gradual progression of temperature while oils, fragrances, and massages soothed muscles and calmed the mind. These rituals were designed to nurture both body and spirit, reinforcing the connection between health, leisure, and social engagement. Even in these moments of indulgence, the Romans maintained intimate routines within the household. As darkness deepened, families turned toward quiet reflection. Household shrines offered a place for prayer to the Laras and Penates, guardians of home, hearth, and family well-being, offering bread, wine, and fruit, and lighting small lamps. Families expressed gratitude and sought protection. The soft flicker of lamplight, the scent of incense or oil, and the gentle words of prayer created an atmosphere of peace, reinforcing bonds between family members and embedding a sense of order and comfort into the night. Sleep, naturally integrated into daily life, often followed a two-phase pattern. Without artificial lighting, Romans would sleep for a few hours after sunset, awaken around midnight, and then returned to bed until morning. This segmented sleep allowed time for reflection, conversation, or gentle work, providing a quiet pause in the middle of the night. Rather than being disruptive, it offered a rhythm aligned with nature, a subtle acknowledgement of the body's cycles. In the calm of these hours, the mind could wander, settle, and prepare for renewed rest. Yet, as the Roman Empire declined, these carefully cultivated routines began to shift. Public facilities, such as baths and latrines, fell into disrepair, communal spaces became less accessible, and households had to adapt to changing circumstances. Household shrines were replaced by churches, blending old rituals with new religious practices. Banquets became smaller and more modest. Sleep patterns gradually shifted toward continuous rest, and some traditions faded entirely. Despite these changes, the influence of Roman habits endured. Elements of bathing culture persisted in later spa traditions. Culinary practices retained echoes of exotic flavors and complex preparations. Domestic routines of prayer, reflection, and family togetherness transformed, but maintained their core purpose: to provide comfort, structure, and connection. Even in the face of societal change, the principles of attentiveness, rhythm, and care continued to shape human life. Picture now a Roman night in full swing. The streets quiet except for the occasional footsteps, bathhouses releasing soft steam, lamp-lit rooms glimmering with golden light, and families gathered near altars offering prayers. Laughter and conversation linger in the air from earlier banquets. A gentle sense of order, comfort, and fulfillment permeates the household, and even the simplest tasks, washing, dressing, eating, or reflecting, carry a rhythm that soothes the mind and body. These ancient practices, though distant in time, offer lessons in balance and attentiveness. Life, the Romans remind us, is composed of small, repeated acts that nurture the body, support the spirit, and connect us to one another. Bathing, eating, praying, socializing, each a thread woven into the broader tapestry of daily existence. And in imagining these routines, one can feel the gentle ebb and flow of time, the calm presence of care, and the quiet assurance that comfort is found not in excess alone, but in rhythm, connection, and mindful attention. As the world of ancient Rome drifts behind your thoughts, let these images settle into a soft, soothing space in your mind. The warm baths, the lamplit altars, the lingering fragrances of exotic dishes, and the hum of gentle conversation. Allow yourself to be carried by the rhythm of their day and night, the harmony of rituals that blend indulgence, practicality, and reflection until the gentle pull of sleep becomes irresistible. As the Roman Empire gradually waned, the familiar rhythms of daily life began to shift, and many of the habits that had defined centuries slowly faded. The once bustling public baths, filled with laughter, conversation, and the soothing warmth of water, fell into disrepair. Marble pools grew cold, steam vanished, and the careful choreography of social bathing disappeared from city life. Public latrines, once lively social hubs where gossip and business mingled freely, were abandoned or forgotten, leaving the streets quieter and the communal experience diminished. Yet even as these structures crumbled, echoes of Roman routines endured. Some domestic rituals survived the upheaval of empire. Household shrines transformed as Christianity spread, but the underlying principle, marking the day with reflection, gratitude, and a quiet connection to the divine, remained. Families continued to gather in the evenings, offering prayers and lighting lamps, preserving a sense of structure and calm amidst change. The act of pausing, of taking deliberate moments for quiet attention, became a subtle thread linking the past to the present. Food culture, too, evolved, though traces of Roman influence lingered. While the lavish banquets of flamingo tongues and honey-stuffed dormice largely vanished, culinary curiosity persisted in new forms. Exotic spices, complex sauces, and careful attention to flavor reflected an enduring Roman appreciation for experimentation and sensory enjoyment. Even fermented fish sauces, though modified and renamed over the centuries, survived as foundational elements in Mediterranean cooking. The emphasis on savoring meals, sharing them with others, and weaving them into social life continued to influence dining traditions long after the fall of the empire. Bathing rituals, stripped of their public spectacle, transformed into private or semi-public practices. Wealthy households maintained smaller bath chambers, continuing to move through sequences of hot, warm, and cold water to relax, cleanse, and soothe the body. Oils, fragrances, and massages remained part of self-care, highlighting a continued understanding of the connection between body and mind. Even in modest homes, personal hygiene retained importance, a quiet nod to centuries-old customs that balanced luxury with practicality. The Romans' approach to sleep also shifted subtly over time. As artificial lighting and social structures changed, the segmented pattern of two-phase sleep gradually gave way to a single, uninterrupted rest. Still, the principle of aligning life with natural rhythms persisted. Families and communities continued to find ways to balance activity, reflection, and rest, embedding routines that honored both productivity and the human need for recovery. Throughout these changes, one overarching theme remained: attentiveness to life's small details. Romans cultivated rituals that addressed both physical comfort and emotional well-being. Whether in bathing, eating, socializing, or prayer, their habits encouraged care, connection, and mindfulness. Even as empires rise and fall, the human desire for rhythm, beauty, and thoughtful living persists, linking ancient experience to modern life. Imagine walking through a Roman city at dusk during this transitional era. The streets are quieter now, but the scent of food from small homes drifts through the air. Lamps flicker in windows where families gather for evening prayers. Bathhouses still operate in limited capacity, sending plumes of warm steam into the cooling air. Servants quietly move through households, attending to needs with a practiced efficiency that blends practicality with care. In these moments, the essence of Roman life, ritual, reflection, and gentle attention, remains present, a soft echo of a civilization that once thrived. Even as the empire faded into history, some habits endured because they served fundamental human needs. Communal bathing inspired later spa traditions, reflecting the same pursuit of cleanliness, health, and relaxation. Culinary exploration carried through generations, influencing taste and cooking practices far beyond the Mediterranean. Domestic rituals of prayer and reflection evolved, but their purpose remained unchanged: to provide calm, structure, and a sense of belonging. As we drift through these images in the mind, the quiet rhythms of Roman life offer a sense of serenity. The warmth of a bath, the soft glow of a lamp-lit room, the gentle hum of conversation, and the lingering scent of carefully prepared food all converge to create a world both distant and intimately familiar. It is a world where daily life is observed, nurtured, and celebrated, reminding us that even amidst change, the human capacity for care, connection, and reflection endures. And so, as night falls over the remnants of the Roman Empire, the legacy of these habits continues to touch our lives. From the way we care for our bodies to the meals we savor, The rituals we create and the quiet moments of reflection we cherish, the echoes of ancient routines offer lessons in balance, attentiveness, and comfort. By imagining these worlds, we find a gentle connection across time, a reminder that the pursuit of well-being, beauty, and meaningful daily practice is universal, timeless, and deeply human. As your thoughts settle, picture the gentle flow of Roman life once more. The marble of public baths, the flicker of household lamps, the soft rustle of clothing, the laughter of companions sharing a long evening meal. Let these images linger without hurry, wrapping your mind in the calm, deliberate rhythm that defined daily life centuries ago. The warm water, the soft lighting, the comforting rituals, all invite you to breathe slowly, sink deeper into relaxation, and drift into a night of restorative, peaceful sleep. Even as the grand sweep of empire shifted and buildings crumbled, the Romans' relationship with daily life remained remarkable in its thoughtfulness and attention to detail. Consider, for a moment, the personal rhythms of the average Roman household. In the mornings, many wealthy citizens actually skipped breakfast entirely. It was considered unnecessary for the upper classes, who relied on energy from the previous day's meals or believed that fasting early could maintain vigor and clarity. Only the working class, laborers, and slaves routinely ate in the morning, their breakfast modest but sustaining. This dynamic illustrates a subtle hierarchy in daily life. Meals were not just about sustenance. They reflected social structure, values, and priorities. The elite might use morning hours for intellectual discussion, political planning, or preparing for public duties, while the lower classes fueled themselves for labor, sustaining the machinery of Roman society. Even within such differences, there was rhythm and purpose. Breakfast, or the lack thereof, was just one example of how order shaped experience. When it came to public toilets, the Romans exhibited a fascinating combination of practicality, sociality, and design. Public latrines, often stone benches with multiple openings, allowed for communal use. Despite the lack of privacy, these spaces became hubs of social interaction. Friends and acquaintances would gather to chat, exchange gossip, or even conduct informal business deals. In this way, even a simple bodily function was integrated into a broader social fabric. The Romans valued connection in every facet of life, blending necessity with opportunity for engagement. Hygiene, indulgence, and performance intertwined throughout the day. Beyond communal latrines and baths, personal care rituals extended to every corner of life. Gladiator sweat, bottled and sold as perfume, reminds us that even in unusual practices, the Romans sought connection between vitality, attraction, and daily experience. Similarly, women's use of toxic lead-based makeup underscores the delicate balance they sought between appearance and well-being, beauty, and risk. They experimented, observed, and incorporated the natural world into personal care, demonstrating a dedication to self-expression that resonates even today. Feasting remained one of the most vivid expressions of Roman life. Banquets were extended experiences, sometimes lasting 8 to 10 hours, with courses flowing endlessly. Exotic dishes, from flamingo tongues to honey-stuffed dormice, invited curiosity and delight, while fermented garum infused familiar foods with pungent complexity. Guests reclined comfortably, enjoying poetry, storytelling, or music, and some even used vomit bowls to continue indulgence. While modern sensibilities may balk, it reflects a culture unafraid of embracing abundance and pleasure as integral parts of living fully. As night deepened, families transitioned from public indulgence to intimate reflection. Household shrines became anchors of domestic life, offering bread, wine, fruits, or small tokens. Family members honored Laras and Penates, guardians of home and hearth. This ritual was not merely symbolic. It provided a gentle structure for the evening, a moment of stillness and connection that helped settle the mind before sleep. The flicker of lamps, the scent of offerings, and the soft murmur of prayers created an environment of calm, reinforcing a sense of security and belonging. Two-phase sleep remained a practical solution aligned with natural rhythms. The night was divided into intervals: a first sleep after dusk, a period of wakefulness around midnight, and a second sleep until morning. Romans used this time for quiet reflection, conversation, or light work. It was a rhythm that accommodated both human curiosity and the need for rest, blending utility with natural cycles. This segmented pattern allowed for deep restorative sleep, while also providing space for contemplation, prayer, or gentle activity, demonstrating an elegant balance between body and mind. Even as the empire fell and traditions shifted, the lessons of Roman daily life persisted in subtle ways. Bathing culture evolved into modern spa practices, reflecting centuries-old wisdom about the importance of cleansing, relaxation, and attention to the body. Culinary exploration endured, inspiring the use of spices, sauces, and creative flavor combinations across generations. Domestic rituals evolved but maintained their essential purpose, offering structure, peace, and connection within the household. The Roman emphasis on rhythm, care, and attentiveness transcended historical collapse, leaving traces that continue to influence modern life. Imagine now a final evening in a Roman household. The streets are quiet, lit by soft moonlight and the occasional flicker of a distant lamp. Steam rises gently from a warm bath, filling the air with subtle fragrance. Slaves move quietly, preparing beds, fetching water, or tending to tasks without drawing attention. In the glow of household lamps, families gather to make small offerings, share gentle conversation, and reflect on the day's events. Music, if present, drifts faintly through open windows. The rhythm of life slows, time itself seeming to pause, as each person settles into a natural cadence of calm, care, and gentle observation. Through these practices, the Romans teach us something enduring. Life's value lies not only in grand achievements or historical conquests, but in the small, repeated acts of attention and care, tending to the body, enjoying food with others, observing rituals, and connecting with family and community. It is in these moments, the warmth of a bath, the softness of a lamp-lit room, the quiet comfort of routine, that the human experience finds balance, beauty, and lasting satisfaction. As you imagine these worlds, allow the flow of Roman life to guide your thoughts. Picture the warm water of the bathhouses, the aromatic richness of meals, the flickering lamps illuminating family rituals, and the gentle hum of conversation drifting through open courtyards. Let these images settle around you, weaving a sense of calm and continuity until the mind is ready to release the day's tension and drift effortlessly into deep, restorative sleep. As the night deepened across the streets and villas of Rome, the gentle rhythm of domestic life continued in every corner. In many households, the servants moved silently, attending to practical needs with precision and care. Beds were prepared, oils were arranged near bath spaces, and lamps were lit to provide a warm, soft glow that filled rooms without harshness. This attention to detail extended beyond mere utility. It created an atmosphere of calm and stability, allowing families to transition from the bustle of the day into the quiet embrace of evening. The bathhouses, still a central part of Roman culture, offered a space where the senses could slow down and rejuvenate. Patrons moved deliberately through pools of varying temperatures, letting warm water relax muscles and invigorating cold water awaken the senses. Soft fragrances from oils mingled with the scent of the marble, while gentle conversations floated through the air. Men and women, sometimes sharing the space, found comfort in both physical cleanliness and the sense of social connection. The baths were more than hygiene. They were rituals that fostered reflection, calm, and a subtle awareness of the body's needs. At the same time, the culinary rhythms of Roman life provided structure and delight. Even after grand banquets, small meals or snacks were enjoyed by those awake during the segmented night. Exotic foods, once the hallmark of elite indulgence, like honey-stuffed dormice or the delicate flavor of peacock brains, were remembered in conversations or small preparations at home. Garum, that pungent fermented fish sauce, still perfumed kitchens and dining rooms, a reminder of both tradition and taste. Meals were slow, intentional, and shared, reinforcing community and connection in the quiet hours of the night. For children and younger members of the household, evening routines offered lessons in rhythm, discipline, and comfort. They observed their elders performing nightly prayers at household shrines, offering bread, wine, or small tokens of fruit, learning the patterns of reflection, gratitude, and mindful attention. The soft flicker of lamps created gentle shadows on stone walls, and the act of pausing at the altar instilled a sense of continuity, linking past and present through ritual. Even amidst the fall of empire, these lessons of attentiveness endured. Sleep, naturally, remained a delicate rhythm. Many Romans practiced two-phase sleep, rising quietly in the middle of the night to engage in calm reflection, prayer, or light work, before returning to bed until the morning. This pattern was aligned with natural circadian rhythms and offered opportunities for contemplation or gentle productivity. Unlike our modern world, without artificial lighting or loud distractions, the night provided a soft, quiet space for thought, reflection, and rest. Even as empire and society transformed, some habits subtly persisted. Domestic hygiene, bathing, and personal care evolved into traditions that influenced later European and Mediterranean cultures. Culinary exploration continued through the use of spices, sauces, and careful preparation, echoing Roman curiosity and appreciation for taste. Rituals of reflection and prayer transformed into new religious practices but retained their purpose, providing structure, calm, and connection within the household. Now, imagine a Roman household at the height of these routines. The city is calm, the air carrying faint fragrances of evening meals and warm oils. Lamps flicker softly on walls and altars. Servants move quietly, anticipating needs with practiced care. Families gather, reflecting, conversing, and honoring daily rituals with small offerings and words of gratitude. Outside, the quiet streets stretch under the moon, and the soft sounds of distant activity punctuate the calm. Every moment, bathing, eating, reflecting, resting, follows a rhythm designed to soothe, sustain, and connect. Even the fall of Rome, a monumental shift in history, did not erase these patterns entirely. While public spaces declined and grandeur faded, the underlying philosophy of careful attention, rhythm, and indulgence in moderation survived. Modern life carries echoes of these practices. Spa culture, culinary exploration, family rituals, and daily routines that prioritize both body and mind reflect centuries-old wisdom. The Romans remind us that the small, repeated acts of care, even in mundane routines, shape the quality of life, and create a sense of continuity, comfort, and well-being. As your mind follows these scenes, allow the warmth of baths, the soft glow of lamps, the aroma of food, and the gentle hum of conversation to settle gently around you. Picture the calm, deliberate pacing of each action, the balance of indulgence and care, and the comforting presence of household rituals. The legacy of Roman life is a rhythm that moves effortlessly between activity and reflection, between indulgence and calm, between connection and solitude. Let the steady flow of these images and thoughts guide your awareness into a tranquil space. The warm water of a bath, the soft shadows of a lamp-lit room, the gentle conversation, and the quiet of night, all combine to form a tapestry of calm, patience, and attentive living. With each breath, imagine yourself immersed in this rhythm, allowing tension to fade and your mind to drift effortlessly toward deep, restorative sleep. Even as the night deepened, the echoes of Roman daily life continued to unfold softly, like the slow turning of a page in a very old, treasured book. Imagine a quiet street in a Roman neighborhood. The sounds of the city long subsided, replaced by the gentle murmur of families in their homes, servants moving quietly through corridors, and the distant flow of water from fountains or aqueducts. In these moments, life was both private and shared, a delicate balance between individual reflection and communal rhythm. In these quiet hours, the importance of personal hygiene and care became especially clear. Public baths may have been closing, yet private bathing remained a comforting ritual. Warm water, infused with subtle scents of oils and herbs, lapped gently against the skin. Massages, whether performed by skilled attendants or self-administered, loosened muscles and encouraged calm. The progression from hot rooms to tepid and cold baths mirrored the slow, deliberate rhythm of Roman life itself. Each step purposeful, each sensation attended to, each breath guided by the body's natural responses. The baths were not mere cleansing. They were restorative spaces, integrating physical comfort with mental ease. Meanwhile, culinary memories lingered in the air. The scent of rich sauces, exotic spices, and roasted meats, remnants from the evening's banquets, permeated the home. Even simple meals carried echoes of tradition. A modest loaf of bread, a small plate of olives, or honey drizzled over fresh fruit. Roman cooking, while extravagant in grand settings, also emphasized flavor, texture, and the deliberate enjoyment of food. Dining was both nourishment and ritual, each bite experienced with attention, and each meal a quiet reminder of connection and abundance. The ritual of prayers to household gods remained a gentle anchor. Families, illuminated by the warm glow of small lamps, offered bread, wine, or fruits to the Laras and Penates. The gestures were slow, deliberate, and filled with care. Even as the empire fell and faith transformed across generations, the essence of this act, reflection, gratitude, and mindfulness, continued to guide behavior. It was a reminder that the human desire for structure, comfort, and acknowledgement of something greater transcends history and culture. Sleep, of course, followed these gentle routines. The two-phase sleep pattern allowed for moments of quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night. During this period, Romans might reflect on the day, exchange soft conversation, or engage in thoughtful tasks. These hours, free from the distractions of artificial lighting and city noise, provided space for introspection and calm. Returning to a second sleep allowed the body and mind to fully restore, a rhythm that honored natural cycles and human needs. Even the unusual or extravagant habits, which might seem curious to us today, contributed to the overall balance and attention of daily life. The collection of gladiator sweat, bottled and sold as perfume, reflected a culture fascinated by vitality and energy, blending fascination with subtle ritual. Toxic lead-based makeup highlighted the pursuit of beauty and social presentation, reminding us that human desire for appearance and self-expression is timeless. Lavish banquets, sometimes extending until dawn, were not only indulgent. They reinforced social bonds, encouraged storytelling, and created spaces for reflection and enjoyment. As you continue to imagine this world, picture the slaves carrying portable toilets, attending quietly without interruption, ensuring that all household members experienced comfort and dignity. Picture men and women bathing together in calm, natural nudity, moving through warm pools, oils, and gentle massages. Picture families kneeling at household shrines, soft light flickering across offerings, prayers whispered into the quiet night. Picture guests reclining after grand feasts, exchanging stories and laughter that drifted like a soft current through the home. Even as the fall of Rome brought monumental change, the rhythm of life persisted in small, enduring ways. Public baths gave way to private bathing, culinary exploration continued in new forms, and domestic rituals evolved but retained their essence. The human need for comfort, connection, reflection, and indulgence did not disappear. It adapted, taking new shapes while preserving the underlying principles that had guided Roman life for centuries. Imagine now the entire Roman day and night, flowing together seamlessly. Early mornings without breakfast for some, communal or private meals for others. Bustling streets giving way to quiet neighborhoods. Bathhouses releasing steam and soft scents. Families gathering for prayers and reflection. Banquets stretching late into the evening. Rich aromas lingering. Night cycles of two-phase sleep providing space for contemplation and calm. All of these actions interweave to create a sense of balance, rhythm, and careful attention to both body and spirit. Let your mind linger on these scenes, the soft glow of lamps, the gentle warmth of water, the faint aroma of honey and roasted meats, the rhythmic movement of daily routines, the quiet murmur of conversation, the calm ritual of reflection, the restorative embrace of sleep. In every small act, from bathing to dining to prayer, the Romans crafted a life that honored comfort, attention, and connection. By imagining this world in vivid, deliberate detail, your mind can follow the same rhythm, allowing tension to release and sleep to come gently, naturally, and completely. As the sun slowly set over the remnants of the Roman Empire, the familiar rhythms of daily life began to shift in ways both subtle and profound. The grand cities, once bustling with marble columns, echoing baths, and crowded marketplaces, grew quieter. The streets, which had resonated with the footsteps of citizens, the chatter of neighbors, and the distant hum of merchants, now carried a softer, almost wistful echo. Time seemed to stretch differently as the structures of empire, its governance, its grandeur, its routines, slowly receded into history. Yet, even amid this decline, the ordinary habits of Roman life clung to their subtle persistence. The rituals of domestic life, in particular, endured. Families still gathered in modest homes to honor their household gods, lighting small lamps and offering tokens of bread, wine, and fruit. These gestures, once performed in stately villas with high ceilings and intricate mosaics, now took place in simpler surroundings, yet they carried the same meaning: reflection, gratitude, and calm. The quiet glow of these lamps illuminated more than walls. It illuminated continuity, bridging centuries of daily human experience. In the streets, the echoes of communal activities faded gradually. Public baths, once centers of warmth, social connection, and conversation, fell into disrepair. Marble pools cracked, mosaics wore away, and the heated rooms no longer steamed with the presence of bodies enjoying the soothing progression from hot to cold water. Yet, the memory of bathing as ritual survived in private homes. Families and individuals continued to cleanse, massage, and soothe themselves with water and oils, preserving the essence of this ancient practice. The act of caring for the body remained, even as the grandeur of public life disappeared. The culinary traditions of Rome also evolved, but left their mark on the centuries that followed. Lavish banquets, once filled with exotic ingredients like peacock brains, flamingo tongues, and honey-stuffed dormice, gave way to simpler meals, yet the spirit of experimentation persisted. Spices, fermented sauces like garum, and the attention to flavor continued to influence food culture across Europe and the Mediterranean. Even in the absence of public spectacle, food remained a source of connection, a medium for creativity, and a gentle ritual that marked the rhythms of life. Sleep patterns, too, adapted to changing circumstances. The practice of two-phase sleep, aligned with natural circadian rhythms, remained in many homes, offering both rest and quiet reflection during the night. Even as social structures shifted and the empire's grand order crumbled, the human need for restorative rest persisted. Romans may have no longer reclined at elaborate tables for hours or visited crowded bathhouses, but the careful observation of personal and communal rhythms endured. These habits, seemingly simple, provided continuity, comfort, and a subtle sense of stability in uncertain times. Consider the small, enduring details of daily life that survived the empire's fall. Slaves or household attendants continued to assist quietly, moving with practiced care to meet needs. Meals were prepared with attention to taste and nourishment. Lamps were lit at night to illuminate prayers and family reflection. Even the most personal rituals, whether cleansing, feeding, or honoring the gods, were preserved, showing that the essence of Roman life did not vanish. It transformed, softened, and adapted. The legacy of Rome's daily routines is perhaps most evident in how these practices informed the future. Bathing culture inspired later spa traditions, emphasizing relaxation, hygiene, and social enjoyment. Culinary experimentation influenced European and Mediterranean cuisines, embedding the spirit of flavor exploration into centuries of cooking. Domestic rituals evolved into religious and cultural practices across Europe, preserving the core principles of mindfulness, reflection, and structured calm. Imagine walking through a Roman city as the empire collapses. The streets are quieter now, but the scent of food still drifts faintly from remaining homes. Lamps flicker in windows, illuminating families as they gather for evening reflection. Private baths steam softly, providing warmth and comfort. Servants move quietly, attending needs without drawing attention, and the subtle hum of conversation reminds all that life continues, even amid transformation. Every habit, every ritual, every small act of care serves as a thread connecting the present to a long, rich past. Even in decline, Romans maintained a delicate balance between activity and reflection, indulgence and moderation, community and solitude. Their legacy is not only found in history books or archaeological ruins, but in the gentle rhythms that persist across cultures and centuries. The appreciation of ritual, the care for body and mind, the pleasure of thoughtful meals, the restorative power of clean water, and the quiet moments of contemplation. These elements, subtle yet enduring, are a testament to the human capacity for continuity, adaptation, and grace. As you picture this transitional era, allow your imagination to wander through homes, streets, and bathhouses, past and present intertwining. Feel the warmth of water on your skin, the soft glow of a lamp illuminating the quiet night, the aroma of carefully prepared food, and the comforting presence of those who share space, time, and attention. Let the ebb and flow of daily life guide your thoughts, softening the edges of the day and ushering in a gentle, deep sense of calm. The fall of Rome, monumental as it was, did not erase the human pursuit of rhythm, care, and connection. It simply transformed it, showing us that even in the face of vast change, the small rituals of life, those that honor the body, the mind, and community, persist. By imagining these moments, you are participating in a long continuum of human experience, one that values thoughtful action, reflective pause, and the quiet beauty of ordinary life. As the final hours of night stretch onward, picture the enduring warmth of Roman traditions, family rituals, communal bathing transformed into private indulgence, the lingering aroma of exotic meals, and the calm, restorative practice of reflection and sleep. Let these images envelop your mind, allowing every detail, the flicker of a lamp, the gentle lap of warm water, the soft murmur of conversation, to settle you into a state of peaceful relaxation. In this space where time flows slowly and deliberately, the legacy of Rome lives on, not in conquest or politics, but in the quiet, continuous rhythm of daily life, in the attention to detail, in the care for oneself and others, and in the enduring beauty of mindful habits. Let your breathing follow this rhythm, steady and calm, as your mind drifts gently into deep, restorative sleep, carrying with it the echoes of a civilization that continues to teach us the art of living thoughtfully, calmly, and fully.